Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. In today's session, we are going to give you a basic tip so as to understand the process of digestion in human beings. Briefly, you must know that what is digestion? It is a process by which the complex organic molecules are converted or they are digested into the simpler forms by the action of enzymes inside the body, right? So such a process of conversion is known as digestion, and of course it is done by the action of enzymes. That means the enzymes should be present in this type of system so as to convert these complex organic molecules into the simpler ones. Fine. Now, from where these enzymes are coming, right? Before we go through this part, you must know that where the enzymes are present inside the human beings or the body of an organism so as to convert these molecules. Fine. Now, of course, when we are discussing about the digestion, then the system which is functioning over there is nothing but the human digestive system. Now, this human digestive system, now it is this site where the enzymes for such a process are secreted or where they are present. Right? Besides this, there is the presence of glands in different parts of the digestive system which are secreting different types of enzymes, and therefore these different types of enzymes are going to convert different types of organic molecules inside the body. So now today, let us see the picture, and with the help of that, let us find out the site of digestion for different types of organic molecules inside the human body. So we all have studied that this digestive system is comprised of alimentary canal which runs from the mouth till the posterior pore, which is known as the anus. So this is the site, or this is this entire tube which extends from mouth till anus is known as the alimentary canal, right? And this alimentary canal receives different types of enzymes at different locations, from where either they are secreted by the internal wall of the this alimentary canal itself, or there are some glands which are associated with the canal which are located outside, and they are transporting their secretions into the alimentary canal through some duct, right? So in this case, as we are saying, we are discussing about the digestion of different organic molecules. So let us say that what are those important molecules or the nutrients, organic nutrients present in our diet, right? So these are what? Number one, they are the carbohydrates. Fine. Besides this carbohydrates, the another thing which is present richly in our diet is the protein. Then protein, further we can say some lipids, even they are forming the important constituent of our diet, and so on. So in this case, let us say that how the digestion of these molecules occurs in our body. Now, prior to such type of explanation, let me just give you one idea here, that in your exams, questions are asked in different manners. Fine. One of the way is to ask about the general secretions of these glands or the structure of the alimentary canal, function of each part, and all that. On the another side, the part which is linked with the digestion, that part is asked. Fine. And in that case, there are two ways to ask a question. And what are those two ways? In one way, generally the name of the molecule is given in the question. Let us say, for example, they will ask you explain the digestion of carbohydrates in human beings, or they can ask you about proteins or the lipids, and so on. Besides that, the other way to ask the process of digestion or the mechanism of this digestion is to ask with respect to the organ of this digestive system. For instance, we can say the question is like explain how the digestion occurs in stomach. So if it is in stomach, you must know that which molecule is being digested here, and which what are the conditions, which enzymes are involved in this particular process. So either way, if you are studying it through this way as we are suggesting, the things become quite easy. Of course there are many ways to learn the things, but the thing is, like, if you're putting some concepts, if you're not learning, you're just understanding the things, definitely you can win your race, right? So here we are explaining it with respect to molecules. Alternatively, we can go through the organ wise also. Fine. So if it is carbohydrate, so we can say that the digestion of carbohydrates begins in the mouth, right? Why is it possible in the mouth? The reason is the presence of salivary glands and its secretion, that is saliva. Salivary glands, they are situated below the tongue, right? And in this cavity, buccal cavity, the salivary glands, they are secreting out, or they are transporting their secretion, that is saliva, through the duct, right? And how this saliva is helping in the digestion of carbohydrates? This is because the saliva is having the specific composition. And what that composition is? It is, see, saliva, it is having water. 90%, around 90% is water. Then there is the mucus, which helps in the lubrication of the food material, and most importantly, which is most importantly required for digestion, is the presence of the enzymes, is the secretion of the enzyme. Which enzyme? That is salivary amylase. It is also known as the ptyalin. So this amylase is actually involved in the digestion of starch. This amylase is responsible for digestion of starch, and this is the reason that we do not have the enzymes for cellulose, and therefore the cellulose, which is a fibrous carbohydrate, it is not involved in our diet, right? So in this case, as we are discussing about human beings, so we can say this is a salivary amylase in saliva converts the starch, that is a carbohydrate, into the simpler forms. And what are those simpler forms here? Those simpler forms are maltose. Now, important thing again here, the thing that you should mention while writing your answer is that starch is not completely digested into maltose in the buccal cavity. The reason is that because the time for which the the food material is present in the buccal cavity is very less. You know it yourself. When you are eating food, for how much time you are keeping the food in your mouth? You are chewing it over there, and usually you swallow it also, isn't it? So the time for which this saliva is mixed, or this amylase is acting upon this starch here, is very less. So instead of converting it into maltose, it is forming the dextrins here. That means the short chains of glucose. I hope you must be knowing that starch is a polysaccharide which is made up of glucose units, many glucose units, right? So in this case, they are forming the short chains of the glucose molecules, which we are calling as the dextrose or the limit dextrins. Fine. Besides that, some part is also converted into maltose. Now, what is this maltose? It is another example of the carbohydrate, which is the disaccharide, that is made up of 2 units of glucose. So this is how this much conversion is taking place in the mouth. Now further, this partially digested food material is further transferred into the esophagus, and there is no digestion in this esophagus over there. And this is responsible, esophagus is responsible for the peristaltic movements. And this peristalsis or the peristaltic movements, they help in pushing the bolus or the food material in the forward direction to the stomach. In the stomach, gastric juice is secreted. This gastric juice is not having any enzyme which can help in the digestion of the carbohydrates. And this is the reason, one of the reason that why the digestion of carbohydrate do not occur in the stomach. So what happens here? But still we can say amylase was mixed with the food material. So it is possible. Still these enzymes can act still when it is present in the stomach. But even this does not happen. You know why? The reason is because gastric juice is further having the another thing here, and that is HCl. That is hydrochloric acid. And amylase is inactive in the acidic conditions. Amylase need alkaline conditions so as to function, and thus the digestion of carbohydrates gets stopped in the stomach. Now further, the food is transported into the small intestine. In the small intestine, again the digestion of carbohydrate is retained. Now how is this possible? It is possible because of the secretions of the liver as well as the secretion of the pancreas. So this liver and the pancreas, what are the secretions here? These secretions are, number one, that is the bile juice, which is coming from where? It is coming from the liver. And what this bile juice is basically having, the most important constituent that we must discuss right now is the bile salts, right? These bile salts, they are providing the alkaline pH, and this alkaline pH provides favorable condition for the functioning of these intestinal enzymes, right? Further, beside this, we said the pancreas is also transporting its own secretion, and what that secretion is, it is pancreatic juice. So this pancreatic juice, what it is having, mind it, pancreatic juice is having different types of enzymes, but as we are studying about carbohydrates, so for this right now we are going to concentrate on the enzyme that is pancreatic amylase. In the mouth or in the buccal cavity, the similar enzyme was secreted that was known as the salivary amylase. Further, now here it is pancreatic amylase as it is secreted by the pancreas. Right. Now what will be the function of amylase? The same as it was in the buccal cavity. But of course now the exposure of this food material is going to be for a longer time period. So this amylase is going to convert the all of the starch into what? All of the starch into the maltose. So this is how all sugars, all starch, it has been converted into disaccharides now. Right. Now further, it is further moving forward in the further part of the small intestine, that is the jejunum and ileum. See, small intestine is having three regions, or it is the entire tube is divided into three parts. The one is duodenum, which is this small inverted U-shape or somewhat S-shaped structure arising from the stomach, and it is this site which is going to receive the secretions of the pancreas and the liver through a common duct. Fine. Now further, when it is the further part of this small intestine is highly coiled, and it is the jejunum and the ileum. Now in these regions, as we are saying, it is highly coiled, it is having finger-like projections, it is supplied with so many blood capillaries, as well as it is having the thin membrane. So one of the major function here is the absorption. But besides this, there are some glands which are present within the internal lining of the intestine. So this intestinal wall is further secreting out the enzyme that is known as they are the these specific enzymes which are going to convert the sugars completely into monosaccharides. So further, the next part which is involved here is the intestinal juice. And where this intestinal juice is secreted? In the small intestine, in the further part of the, or in the later part of the small intestine. Now this intestinal juice, we can say what different type enzymes are present here. Like we can, for example, it is maltase, it is lactase, right? Then we can say that the another enzyme that could be present here is the sucrase, and so on. So we can say the specific enzymes are secreted. By the name itself, you can find out that what will be the function of these enzymes here now in the digestion of the carbohydrates. Up to duodenum, all of the starch has been converted to maltose or into the disaccharide units. Right. Now these disaccharides are of different types, of course. One of the example is maltose. So maltose is converted completely into monosaccharide unit by the action of the enzyme maltase. Now let us say, for example, if we have taken lactose in our diet, milk is a rich source of lactose sugar, isn't it? So this lactose is a disaccharide and it has to be further converted into monosaccharide. So that conversion is actually catalyzed by the enzyme lactase. Besides this, sucrose. Sucrose, that means it is rich in table sugar, the sugar that we are eating, isn't it? So this sugar or this sucrose is acted upon by the enzyme sucrase. The function is, combined function of all these enzymes is to convert all of the carbohydrates into the monosaccharide unit. Now, of course, all reactions could not be 100% efficient, and but of course, the function that is probably taking place is in this manner. Now, this is how the entire carbohydrate is converted, or it is digested inside the human digestive system. We can say, so now we can summarize here the carbohydrate. It is digested in which part of the alimentary canal? Of course, it is in the buccal cavity. Then it does not occur in the stomach. Then further it takes place in the small intestine. How? By the action of these specific enzymes which are coming along with the secretion secreted by the specific glands. Now, in a similar manner, when we are proceeding out, alternatively questions are being asked like which organ is involved in the digestion of carbohydrates or anything, right? So accordingly you have to prepare for that. Further, in some other session, we will discuss about the digestion of proteins and the lipids also. But the pattern or the way how we should do it is something which we have discussed right now. So till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day.